Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Letters from Whitechapel is another hidden movement game. So let's talk about this a little bit, because this is one of the most beloved hidden movement games on the market. Now, your mileage is going to vary depending on whether you like the theme or not. You're going to be moving around as Jack the Ripper, at least one player will, and you will be killing innocent women or prostitutes in this game. That's going to pull some people off, probably make this not for kids, although this really isn't a kid's game. So you're going to want a certain kind of maturity there, but also it's going to be off-putting for some people. Are you going to be comfortable going out and slaughtering, as a serial killer, defenseless women and prostitutes? Are you fine with that? Okay. The other players will play the cops that will be chasing him down. Now, this is one that's more adult-oriented from a theme's perspective, of course, and that's not a theme that bothers me whatsoever. It's fine. It's just a game, a couple pawns on the table. Obviously, I don't want this to happen in real life, although this did happen in real life, I suppose. But, you know, nobody's for it, but you'll still play war games and things like this. So, okay. So, right there, that might be a cutting off point for you. Hidden movement games are just not our favorite type of games. Our family really likes Stop Thief by Restoration games. It works really well with the kids. One vs. All has a cooperative mode. We like that one quite a bit. It uses app integration. As for hidden movement games, this is probably one of my more favorite ones, but I don't need a whole lot of these in my collection. So while this is probably one of the most revered ones, people love this game and really like it. You know, there's other ones on the market that I'd probably like to keep. Spectre Ops was one that didn't really speak to me. I like this one a little bit better, although it's kind of hard because the gameplay is kind of the same in all these with little tweaks and turns to them, almost like how trick-taking games are all the same with little twists that make them a little bit different. This one does the same. I like this one quite a bit, but it wasn't something that we just quite honestly don't play a lot of hidden movement games. There's a lot to like here. I think finding Jack the Ripper is a fun experience that people are like playing the cops, and you do kind of narrow it down where he's going to be at by the dead bodies that are going to occur in the game. So this is going to be one of the better ones. I think that with hidden movements, unless you're a huge fan of those and you really like those, you might just pick the one with the theme that you like the most. And for us, unfortunately, this is going to be a Purge. Here's letters from Whitechapel. You can see this is really bloody, I guess. Very spooky. You should be fighting on Jack the Ripper, who's hidden here. When you open inside, you're going to see a rulebook, which we'll set aside and look at in a few minutes. It's going to be a little thing that you can use. It's going to be the map for Jack that he can look around without looking at the board, so he can't follow his eyes. And this is where he'll place things so he can hide it. Very nice. I think all of these hidden movement games should have something like this. An excellent component. When you open up the board, we'll take a look at that in a second. So you're going to see a little bit of a custom insert here. You're going to get more of these sheets that you can use. You're going to get these little player aids, one for each person, and you're going to have Jack the Ripper. These little boobobs, these little tiles that you'll have, they're okay. These women are headless. I guess that's thematic, but I don't know if I like that too much. These tiddlywinks, while cheap, you know, they're going to fit really nicely on the board because you're going to be able to see through them. So, and that's the point. They couldn't be a marker. So these are clear. And then when you put them on the board, you can still see the number and you can tell that they're there. It might be not as easy to pick up on camera, but you can definitely see this when you're playing the game. So that's why they're kind of those tiddlywinks. Inside, you're going to get some, these will be the Jack the Ripper ones, moving around the board. These are the policemen in different colors. And then you're going to have these, which will be randomizers that you can use. Really, it makes a difference, just the color, different pictures, and you'll see who the lead investigator is. These are really hard cardboard and really nice. You're going to get a little advertisement book that you'll have in here. I always like to get those. And you're going to have these letters that you can use in one of the variants. These are pretty nice, and they serve that purpose. And then little tiles and tokens. Everything in here is really, really nice. Let's take a look at the board. You know, most of these hidden movement games, you're not spending a whole lot of money on artwork. What you're getting is a map here with a bunch of numbers and addresses. And this is really big. So let me see if I can zoom out just a tad. But you can see it's a really big map. Just numbers and coordinates all over the place. So it's kind of what you expect in a game like this. But you can see London here. You're going to have the turn marker over here. Good job. This is a little bit bland. Needs to be because what you're doing needs to pop off of it. This has become kind of the norm. So here's a rule book. Looking at a really big rule book. So if we're trying to put this on the table, this thing is going to be massive. So you're going to get a picture of the components with the list. This is very good to have. Here's a complete 2-page spread of setup. Here's what the pictures looks like with a numbered centered here what you need to do. Then how to play. So this is going to be your overview here. This is how many turns and what you're going to get each turn. And then it breaks down as you go through. It has plenty of pictures and examples. Now this goes into pretty good detail. And I found this rule book to be very, very good. Here's the hunting phase as you'll do. Then any special movements, the double down during the third night. You're going to have the optionals they can use to make it easier for Jack or easier for the police. And then some historical notes they drove in here about what actually happened. On the back of a summary of gameplay and credits. I found this rulebook to be very easy to use. I was able to pick this up and kind of flip through it. We almost learned the game on the fly. So excellent, excellent book. My intention here is not to teach you every rule of the game, but to try to understand the flow of the game. So the first thing what's going to happen is depending on there's 4 days in the game that you're going to play. If Jack can survive all 4, then you're going to win. You're going to number of these tokens. These carriage tokens allow you to move 2 spaces on a turn instead of 1. So normally you would move from white to white. With the carriage, you can spin one of these and you can move 2 spaces. That's what they do. You're going to have these alley ones. They're quite a bit smaller. They're going to allow you to go through the alley. So if you wanted to go from 120 to 82, you could stomp over this ground. Same thing with 117. You go all the way to 80 or 81 or 98. You can go all the way across. So they're going to let you go from like 116 to 138 over here. So that's what that little one's going to do. So these are the 2 advantages that you would get at the beginning of the turn. Based on the turn, you would get X amount. But Jack will be able to use these against the police officers. The second thing that's going to happen is Jack the Ripper's going to get a number of these based on which turn it is. The red one means you're actually putting a woman down. White one is just a bluffing marker. You will actually get to put all of these out on the first turn, and you'll be placing them on any of the red parts on the board. And only Jack is going to know. So this one is a decoy, and this one is actually going to be a woman. And Jack would put a number of these out based on the number of he's allowed for this turn. So I put out 2 real ones and 1 bluffing. Once again, the police player will not know that that's happened. Next, the policemen are going to kind of do the same thing. So the red ones means going to be the colored ones are going to be the actual policemen. They're going to have some bluffing ones. Now they're going to put these out in the first round on these black and yellow spots, and only the policemen will know who is where and on what location. So you'll put a number of those out while the Jack the Ripper just kind of waits. In future rounds, the police will go where they were at the end of the last turn, and you'll place 2 additional ones out. So you can put a fake one where somebody was or not, but this is going to be how you do it the first round. Then what's going to happen, Jack the Ripper is going to turn over and notify who all the women are. So he will take these tokens off where the real women are and take off the fake ones. So now what's going to happen is the policemen, after they place where they're going to be and who's going to be at one location, they're now going to know where the women are located at. So Jack the Ripper now has another decision to make. He can go ahead and murder someone or not. I'm going to show you what happens if he decides not to murder someone, and then we'll show what happens if he does. If he does not murder someone, then the suspense would grow. And what's going to happen is down here on this track, Jack would move up to the 2 location, and that's kind of where he would be, spending more time. Then the policemen's suspensions would grow larger, and what they would do, they're able to move each of these women in any direction they want. Now, the first round, you're not going to have a lot of information because you don't know where his hideout is, but you're kind of pushing them in different directions is not a bad idea to go. The only real rule is you just can't be adjacent to another police officer. So if he decides to wait and not kill someone, the police person will be able to move each woman 1 adjacent location. So the benefit to this is Jack will then get to flip over one of these tiles. If it's a fake one, then it would just come off the board. If, on the other hand, he had chosen where a real police officer is, he would be able to flip that over, and now he has knowledge. So that's kind of why Jack the Ripper would not kill someone right away, because he wants to know the location of the policeman. Because now it's going to go back. After that is done, he now has a choice again whether to kill somebody or not. And you can do that 5 times. On the 5th time, you must kill someone. So let's go ahead and say that he did kill someone. Well, the reason why he might want to look at something, because he might want to kill this person or this person, just pretending like this is all that the board is. Well, if I had full knowledge, I would know that this was not a real policeman. At this point, I don't know. So what he's going to do is, he knows there's somebody here. I'm not really sure about these. So I want to get as far away from that person as possible, let's say. So I'm going to kill this person right here. So what I'm going to do is take her off the board, and then I will put out a red thing signifying that's where Jack the Ripper is now because he just committed the murder. This is a good time to point out that at the beginning of the game, Jack chose a location for his hideout. He was able to choose anywhere on the board. In this case, in my example, I had chosen 100. 100 is right here. So now what Jack is going to try to do is go from the location back to his hideout. Keep in mind, the policemen do not know where the hideout is, only Jack the Ripper. At this point, the police alarm would go off, and all of the locations on the board would then now, all the police guys would be flipped over. We'd find out that is a fake. We'd find out that is the red one, and you would take the tiles off, and now the policemen are on the board, and now the second part of the night would start, the hunt for Jack the Ripper. The police now know where he's at. They just don't know where he's going. So let me show you an example here. Jack went in the second spot. So in the example that I used when we played, he was on the 99th spot. And this point, it'd be 158. So what I would do is I would write 158 here. Instead of the 99, I have the 158. And I would track the movement of Jack on here so people can later verify that I was telling the truth. So Jack will then be able to move. Keep in mind, he could announce that he's using a carriage and move 2 spaces, or move his alley to move between these buildings, or I can just move 1 space. So I'm on 158. Jack would be able to move to an adjacent space. He does not announce that. Once again, he just records it in his book that he's moved 1 space. Now, Jack is trying to get to the hideout, which we've already declared is on 100. The police do not know that. After Jack the Ripper moves, the police are able to move. Now, the police are going to move on these black spaces right here, and they can move up to 2. 1, 2. And then they will have a decision you do this for each of the policemen. I'm not going to go through each one, but each one will work the same. You can either look for clues or you can try to arrest someone. So I have 2 locations that are adjacent to me, 126 or 125. If I knew or thought that Jack the Ripper is in 25, I can try to arrest him. If I try to arrest him and he is there, great. Policemen just won the game. They arrested Jack the Ripper. If I'm wrong, then that red player's turn is over. Contrast to that, he could try to get a clue. So I could say 126, clue. And if that is anywhere on here, I would have to say, Jack the Ripper would have to say, yes. That doesn't mean he's there now. That just means at one time in this game, he had gone through 126 around his turn. Same thing, and it said nope, then you can go to the next one. If it was yes, he's done. He's got his clue. If the answer was no, then he can go 125. Was he there? No, Jack the Ripper was never there. Now, the same thing could be said here. So he's got 100, 122. You can arrest or make clues. Or if he was down here, I could say, hey, I want to arrest him, and he's at 157, which is where Jack the Ripper actually went. Then I would be able to arrest him and win the game. This continues until Jack the Ripper announces that he made it back to the hideout. Made it back to the hideout, the night would end, and you play the game for 4 nights. If the police are able to catch him, then they win the game. So it's a cat and mouse that will reset each round based on where the murder is. So I've taken you through a turn of the game. Do that 4 times. There's a caveat in the 3rd round that 2 people will die. So you'll put 2 of these red markers out on the board, and they won't necessarily know. You have to list it, whichever one is the second murder, which is where he will leave from. So they won't really know where he's at per se. But by that point, they should kind of narrow down where the vicinity of his hideout is. Who should buy this game? This is definitely going to be just for people who are okay with the theme, right? Adults, you're murdering prostitutes, etc., and you're a serial killer going around, and the cops are trying to kill you. It's very interesting. But it's going to take a level of maturity that we'll have for that and be okay with kind of the gruesome nature of it. Then you have to be a fan of hidden movements. And I feel like other than maybe like real-time games, hidden movements are the ones where people are almost opposite ends of the economy. Like you either love them or you hate them. There's not a whole lot of middle ground when it comes to them. This is one of the top tier ones. It's the upper echelon of hidden movement games. This is going to be very popular, but it's going to be a gamer's game. So this is not going to be really an entry level, if you ask me. It's going to be more for people who are into these, kind of know what's going on. And then the more you play it and you understand how the game mechanisms work, the more you're going to enjoy it.